from Schenectady.
Focus Friday.
Focus Friday evening edition.
Evening edition, which I kind of enjoy. We ain't gonna lie to you. I love these evening editions. Peace, everyone. How y'all doing this Friday?
It is Friday. It is Friday. Hey, Shawn Young.
What up, Jamaica?
Not much, We're doing things a little bit different today. But I think it's good.
Nah, I think it's amazing. We got a few things to talk about. That's why we're here this evening.
Yeah.
Our regular amount of time to have this discussion. We got some topics, but on the top of the topics.
On the top of the topics.
The top of the topics.
Yeah.
Earthquake.
not the comedian.
Earthquake, not the comedian. Not the comedian. We had an earthquake in New York, Jersey, on the Northeast today, man. That was something else. How many of y'all felt that earthquake?
Okay,
man?
Listen. All I'm saying is that so I was in my home office.
Yeah.
And I mean, your story, but you don't know the story. I'm in the office, and I saw it. I felt it. My little sign fell off the wall. I jumped up. Malia, are you okay? She's like, what? Roman didn't even move. I'm calling all my kids. Like, is everybody okay? What are you talking about? It was just like, what?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, cool. No. I mean, it was nuts. My story is a little interesting, but straight to the facts is. So the earthquake happened at 10:23 a.m. It was about 3.5 miles southeast of California, New Jersey, roughly 60 miles west of New York City. Several minor aftershocks happened afterwards. Another 4.0 magnitude aftershock was recorded at 6 p.m. and could be felt in New York City. The epicenter was somewhere near Gladstone. So we got some. Yeah. Mother Earth is moving.
Yeah, all I'm saying
Mother Earth is moving, rock and rolling today.
I don't know what fault line we're on or the aftershocks or any of that. I just know my house moved.
Yeah, that's a fact.
So who keeps us safe?
I mean,
I'm just saying.
Listen, you gotta leave in some situations. So I was actually on a Zoom call.
Yes, I remember you saying that.
Yeah, I was on a Zoom call. I've had some folks in New Jersey, New York City, and Hudson Valley, and we, literally on the Zoom call, we watched the earthquake come from like New Jersey all the way up. So it was shaking in Jersey first, and then like in New York, Hudson Valley, and then finally finally up here where I was at. It was amazing. So if you missed out, I mean,
don't worry, we're talking about it.
I mean, I think the USGS says we got more coming, so we'll see about that.
Yeah. Okay.
Hopefully don't tear down no buildings. So what else are we talking about today?
Listen, just as a reminder to everybody, because we are building more in 2024. If you're not already on our email list, please hit the bit.ly. It's in the chat. Make sure you join us. Don't just come on by surprise.
Yeah.
You can know it's happening.
Schedule your time.
Be like,
come sit down
I really want to make sure that I'm here for this conversation, because we also would like people to participate in this conversation. It's very often that folks will join us either on YouTube or on Facebook.
That's right.
And be a part of the conversation. I know last Friday when we were in the morning, quite a few folks were like, here are my thoughts.
That's right.
Share your thoughts.
We like your thoughts. Where were you at? The earthquake hit.
Listen,
inquiring minds want to know.
Sean wants to know.
Where were you at? What were you doing?
But anyways,
were you scared?
Yeah.
Did you think this was the end of days?
Oh my God! Because also the eclipse is coming.
The eclipse is coming.
The stars are in position for this tribute. Join the email list, but really here we are. It is Focus Friday Live Evening Edition, and we are going to talk about safety.
We are going to talk about safety.
We are
going to talk about current events, things that happened right here in our very own city.
Yeah.
And we are going to talk about some election stuff that's happening in our city as well.
Right.
Elections. Elections are happening.
Local elections.
Yes.
That no one goes to.
Not enough people go to.
Okay, you're right. You're right. It's a few people.
Enough people go there.
But there's like 60, how many thousands of people eligible, and we get like a couple thousand people show up at the polls.
If that.
Yeah.
If that at times. We're talking about local elections.
School board. We're talking specifically about the school board elections. I'm just going to jump in that more than $200 million.
Mm-hmm.
7 members. 7. It's not the lottery. It's not the lottery.
Right. Okay.
But there are 7 elected school board members.
Yeah.
I am one of the 7. and there is over $200 million to which we are responsible for.
Yeah.
To have oversight about how it's spent, what it's going to be spent on, as well as hiring the superintendent, which we did.
Yeah.
We hired another one.
Yeah, that's right.
Listen, super congratulations again to Dr. Cotto, because yes, he's a doctor.
Yes.
Dr. Cotto starts actually May 1st officially.
Yeah.
But hired from within, all of those good things. We're responsible for hiring the superintendent, making sure the budget is going to equitably ensure that every child gets the education they deserve, that staff have the support they need, programs, services, all of the stuff, right?
There was a lot of people really excited that Cotto is the superintendent.
Yeah.
I've seen him in action in different spaces. He has definitely some real support from some real ones in the city. So congratulations to Cotto. Hopefully we are in good hands. But we got to get to where the rubber meets the road, and I'm wishing him the best, because the best for him is the best for our kids, right?
Absolutely. Right. Absolutely. And unfortunately, enough folks, like you said, don't know how the sausage gets made, are not aware that school board election is on May 21st, right? It is not during every other election.
Yep.
It is outside of the normal time.
Kind of, y'all got your own private party.
Which is not helpful. It's not at the same voting place necessarily as the regular general elections or the primary elections. So like there are a lot more barriers to folks participating. And we've heard folks say, oh, well, do we really have to worry about that?
Well, we're about eliminating barriers.
Indeed.
Right. And so where are you going to be able to find out where you can vote at is right here on our page, both on Facebook and Instagram, and we'll be sending out emails to make sure, or Jamaica will be sending out emails to make sure that you are fully aware.
Listen, it's not just emails.
It's not just email, but phone calls.
Well, Sophia.
Smoke signals. I'm sorry.
You just too much today. This is what happens when we have an evening edition. We might have to just go back to mornings. Sophia, the amazing intern Sophia, is creating brand new graphics for the elections, from the school board to the primary to the general election, making sure that we're able to reach people in all of these different ways. And campaign associates will be starting back up this weekend. Shout out to Jennifer and Victoria, because it's great to have them back.
Awesome.
They did such an amazing job last time. Really glad to have them back in the fold as we kick off the voter registration education for 2024, because April's not too soon.
That's right.
Elections in May, elections in June, and then in November.
That's right. That's right. We've got some dates that we'll absolutely be sharing. I'm excited about it. Always excited about an election year. Always hopeful in an election year that we'll be steering some folks in the right direction, so that we can get some of the policy investments, etc., that we absolutely deserve as a community. I feel like you left out Uncle Charles.
Oh, I didn't mean to.
You left out Uncle Charles.
I did not. I did not mean to at all. I guess I just took all the ladies.
I mean, that's okay. I mean, that's all right. Nothing absolutely wrong.
Equity.
Wrong with
you know what? That was equity.
That was equity?
That was equity.
Okay.
So talk about Uncle Charles.
Well, Uncle Charles is actually a family member of mine, well versed in legal study. He's actually been, I think, essential for individuals that I know in their criminal cases and some civil cases, done some great work. So he'll be a supporter of the work we do here at All of Us moving forward. When we have, issues that people need some, we're not going to be giving you legal advice, right?
No, we are advocates.
We
are advocates, and we're not
giving legal advice over here.
We ensure that folks get access to public information that isn't always accessible, right?
Exactly.
Uncle Charles knowing where to get that information and having that personal knowledge is super important.
Yeah.
As well as he already has brought additional resource information to us.
That's right.
About programs and services that exist in the city of Schenectady.
That's right. Yep.
And it allows for people to participate if their personal needs are met.
Well, I mean, you know, everything you said, yes, we actually got to get some of that up, and we got to put some of that.
Yeah.
We get some of that stuff downloaded so that we can share more of it with the community. But yes,
yeah,
we that's what we do anyway, right?
Absolutely.
We share resources, make sure folks have access and are aware of things that they may not otherwise be aware of.
And one more resource.
What's that?
If folks missed our wonderful Black History Month conversations, don't worry, because Black History 365 is coming. We have all types of clips and snippets of those conversations that had a wealth of information that we'll be sharing across our social media pages, as well as the full episodes are on our YouTube page.
That's right.
So if you missed about economics or education or human rights, don't worry. You're going to get your 90-second soundbite and also be able to link to the full video back on the YouTube page, because Black History 365.
Black History 365. And shout out to our supporters. Shout out to Sophia for working with us. And shout out to, I was going to say Darkwing, but it's not Darkwing. It's Nightwing. My brother Nightwing. Listen, if you grew up in the 90s, y'all know what Darkwing.
He called you Darkwing Duck.
I did not call
Batman,
him Darkwing Duck. I said I thought about Darkwing.
He was going to call him Darkwing
Nightwing.
Duck. Nightwing, yes.
Really,
for the
really
support.
Really helped us out.
Yeah.
With some of those videos. I can't wait to check them out myself.
Evening edition, y'all. This is what happens after dark.
I mean,
it's not even after dark.
It's not even after dark yet.
Almost.
Yeah. Someone ain't eat yet. Anyway. All right. So what else happened in the week?
What do you mean? What else happened this week?
We were going to give a kind of a report back.
Yeah.
You know, we just had Easter.
Yeah.
Last weekend.
Yeah.
Trisha.
On the hill.
Trisha,
yes.
Yeah,
Easter on the hill.
Yeah, Easter on the hill. Trisha Pedro. Wally's World.
Yes, it's Wally's World.
Is it Wally's World? I wasn't sure. But yeah. But no.
Darkwing Duck, Wally's World.
Is it? It's not.
No, it is.
It is. Okay. All right. Trisha Pedro. Shout out Trisha. Always doing something on Halloween, Easter, some stuff in the summer. We've known her for a couple of years now. Always about those kids.
Yes.
Has an amazing family. Brings out the bouncy bounce. Brings out all the food. Brings the animals. Has the Easter egg hunt going on. It was wild kids out there.
There was a lot. There's so many kids and reptiles.
Yeah,
there's so many kids and reptiles and horses
and reptiles. And, and all of that. You know, I'm still, I'll be honest with you. I love seeing the kids. I love the event.
Yeah,
everything that went on. I'm still a little bit unhappy with what the park really looks like now.
Oh,
like how much
the redesign.
Money they spent.
The redesign. Hold on.
For what?
Hold on.
You know what I mean? Have y'all seen the park lately? Now look, it ain't like what did they do? Like, I'm not the only one saying this. Like I had these conversations.
Cut down the trees.
They cut down the trees. I had these conversations in the barbershops where I go with a lot of the brothers. Had these conversations with just with individuals I know. Mm-hmm. It's just like you look at the park. I don't want to make it. I don't want to make. Listen, we got to shout out Trisha, but man,
they did some work. So they took the mushroom out and put a splash pad in, which I can imagine is going to be better as far as when the summer comes. It looks very much like the splash pad in Woodlawn, right? The Woodlawn Park. So kids will be able to push the button, the water will come on and that type of stuff. So it is an upgrade to the water area.
Okay.
I was going to say they put a fence in over at the other playground, but Malia had told them to do that like 2 years ago. So that's whatever. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I look at the park.
Oh, and they redid the tennis court.
Yeah, and they redid the tennis court, but they spent.
There's no nets up though.
They spent millions of dollars on that park, I thought, right? So look, anyway, listen, I don't want to get stuck on what the park looks like so much as I want to shout out Trisha and the work she's doing with those kids.
Yep. No matter what the park looked like, she was going to be out there.
And those kids, they had a really great time.
My kids did.
I'm gonna say something, parents. chaperone your kids a little bit better. A couple of y'all know y'all flavoring flags on the play, a couple flags on the play, but for the most part, it was an absolutely really really great turnout for the event, and Trisha, keep doing your thing.
Yeah,
We appreciate it.
no, absolutely appreciate it. And I feel like this is a good segue to just what we've seen in our community in general, right? Some things that are concerning. We talk about safety. We talk about who keeps us safe. We keep us safe. When
Yeah.
Roman does the chant, I absolutely love it. Um, but what does that mean? Especially given some of the things we've both seen in our communities, and whether it's the North Side, Mount Pleasant, Hamilton Hill, but our historically marginalized neighborhoods, and our young folks,
Yeah.
um, as well as just the environment overall, right? The sidewalks are still not all fixed. We got street lights that are not working. There's speeding happening, even though we continue to ask the city to put in speed bumps or to put in stop signs or what have you. They don't even put up the what speed you're going signs that I see them put in other neighborhoods. But I digress. We're seeing things in our communities with our young people, with adults, with the environment that isn't safe.
No, you're absolutely right. And, I think that, so as an adult, having conversations with other adults, and then we talk about these young people, and be like, man, these kids is crazy, or like, this is that, or whatever, right? We are always kind of denigrating the youth, and without recognizing that the youth are our fault, right? Whatever they doing,
Or at
as
least our
like
responsibility.
they're not just our responsibility, because they grew up in environments that we didn't solely create on our own.
Okay.
Right? We obviously, I think that goes without saying, but we had responsibilities that we didn't uphold. And I'm saying we as the adult community. Like, you can't look at all these kids running around. Those kids ain't show up on their own out the ether somewhere, right?
Right.
Those kids had parents. And we know how much the system has failed, our communities for generations. But I think, we often don't do the work to get through the layers of what we're talking about. So we see a kid acting out, and we just, oh, this is the kid's fault, right?
Just do as you're told.
Just do as you're told, and
Mhm.
you're on the right, not considering all this kid's environment and surroundings.
Yeah.
But it comes to the adults, like we have to take more responsibility for our children. And this ain't nothing new. I'm not saying nothing that's rocket science, nothing slick, nothing unique to whatever. This is actually what people have been talking about for a long time. But it's like, how do we make that actionable in your own personal life for one, and then more collectively for another?
So, do you remember the anti-racism workshop, and part of it was Rat Bites Baby?
I do.
So I
do.
think that complexity, anyone that took my anti-racism training 101, you know what I'm talking about. Rat Bites Baby. And it is that layer, right? That there's individual accountability, but there are all these other pieces as well. And for me, it gets complicated, right? Because let's take for instance, and I'm going to use Rat Bites Baby, that story. A young mother, single mom in the projects, who leaves her baby to go cash her check or the WIC check or whatever. And when she came back, a rat had bit the baby. And when that's all the information you have, can't believe she left her alone. It's all her fault. All of these things.
Yeah.
But when you get more information about the story, that the property owner had been told that there was a rat infestation and he didn't call an exterminator. That the city has a long history of all of these problems with rats and sewage and all of this stuff, that all of these contributed to the baby being bitten by the rat. And then also starting to think, what supports were there for mom? right? Yeah, she does have responsibility, and she's got this life that she needs to care for. And we've talked about the generational cycles. What was her upbringing like, and how do we break that if there's not an intervention, because you don't know what you don't know? And so, how do we allow for both accountability as well as addressing the environmental and systemic issues that help to create that situation?
Well, I mean, it takes different approaches to address the different, kind of areas of responsibility. And I feel like we can't talk about this and just hold this one lump thing as much as just, okay, on the individual responsibility side, like, this shouldn't have happened this way. But you're operating under these conditions, and with these conditions we can change, we need to be addressing that as well. I just want to, so I guess, and just the message that I've laid out there, just for parents and chaperoning and thinking about whatever, is that we also can't allow ourselves to fall back on the idea that it's someone else's responsibility, that I'm just living in these conditions, and therefore, and if you don't change them, then I'm just going to be in these conditions. There's a fighting spirit, I think, that our people do have, and beyond what you see on social media, what you see on mainstream media about who Black people are.
Agreed.
Right? Like, we do all kinds of we're all kinds of greatness, right?
Yeah.
And and we're not just people that are down and out and down in their luck and without a chance. Like, there are opportunities, and we need to be responsible enough to take them. And I think that when we do get to that place where we hold that kind of ownership over ourselves, our community, etc., that makes the job of changing the conditions even more possible, because now more people are engaged and involved as much as they can be, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, like, we off on a
I
think a good topic, but we were
Yeah.
going to jump into some other stuff.
What else you want to talk about?
I mean, Israel and Palestine.
Well, I think it's completely relevant.
Is it?
Yes. We're talking about who's
I was so
responsible.
caught.
We're talking about who's responsible
Yes.
when atrocities are happening, right? When there are 12 and 13-year-olds smoking marijuana, walking down the street. When there's caregivers,
sometimes younger than that. Yeah,
when there's caregivers who they themselves are inebriated and not paying attention to the young people they're responsible for, who may be younger than 12 or 13 years old, right?
Who those the older people that the young people are actually watching.
Right.
And are modeling behavior behind. Yeah.
And all of these pieces of that, here is a environment rife with stress and trauma and a lack of resources.
Yeah.
Right? And people trying to survive. Ergo, Palestine. That the Palestinians actually had resources. They had a way of life. They, the olive trees that have now, what is it? How much of the farmland has been destroyed in Gaza? Right? Like,
I know that they've said 70% of the structures have been destroyed in Gaza.
So
there's homes, businesses, hospitals.
There was an infrastructure in place, and not only were resources taken out, but there was an active destruction of that community.
Yeah.
While not extreme that we have bombs going off in the city, and I've thought about this a lot going through Ramadan, we still face this lack of resources, this lack of investment, and a treatment as if we don't deserve those things.
Okay.
And so, who has the power and control to decide where investments go and who gets them?
Okay.
And who right now is supporting the genocide that is happening in Palestine?
I'll pick up on. So just to keep everybody updated, who isn't paying attention or are paying somewhat attention, President Biden just recently called for a ceasefire in Gaza.
So soon?
The president said it. The vice president said it when I was in Selma. Commemorating that history of oppression.
She had a caveat though.
Yeah, there was a caveat in that, but there's been this shift in rhetoric from the United States and other Western powers, and it happened behind the senseless attack of aid workers that were from I want to say Central Kitchen.
Right, and from the international community, one of them being a U.S. citizen.
One of them being a U.S. citizen. There was Australian. There were several different nations represented in the group of folks, and it was 3 vehicles. It wasn't just one.
They hit the first one. People survived.
Yeah.
Got out, ran to the next one. They hit that one. Again, some people survived. They're trying to get the injured folks to the third one, and they blew up the third one too. That after, pardon me, breaking my fast.
Yeah.
That after more than 6 months, more than 33,000 people, more than 70% of them being women and children, but also the rest being largely civilians in general. And now, this is the thing. But it's not just the thing. It is maybe the straw that breaks the camel's back, but also there has been a constant drumbeat calling for a ceasefire, demanding justice for Palestine, an end to the genocide, a global calling in the United States, in other countries, people united together saying we demand justice. And there will be change.
Yeah.
The same change we need in our local communities.
No, that's what we hope for. That's what we fight for.
Yeah.
That's what the goal is. So it's the World Central Kitchen. It's a huge, aid institution. They do a lot of work around the world, not just obviously in Gaza. These folks died, after they had coordinated with the Israeli military, their movements in northern Gaza, and they were attacked, they were killed. Every single person. It's kind of another sad example of the atrocities that continue to happen there. And then, one of the reasons why I think, because all these different nations were represented in that vehicle, and there's no cover. You can't say, there's no justification to say, well, they were working with Hamas, or well, they were doing this. Like, we've had there's just been so much
Israel
devastation that happened in Palestine and Gaza specifically, and obviously still happening
and the occupied West Bank.
In the occupied West Bank. But I feel like this may shift. This may have been the thing that actually, gets us further along the road. I hate that it's at the cost of folks' lives, but it may be the case that now things change, or it'll just be more rhetoric, and we'll still be having this conversation a month from now. What are you all willing to do about that? Right?
Roman said.
What did Roman say?
You know what he said because you were there. We can't do nothing.
Yeah.
We can't let them die. Right? Today is Palestinian Child's Day.
Yes.
And we had the pleasure and honor of being at a local children's press conference in support of the children, the Palestinian children, including those who spoke out last year, November of 2023, and had their own press conference. And I look forward to us sharing that video. But there were already so many aid workers that had been killed. They just happened to be Palestinian aid workers and journalists and teachers and doctors, right? Like these 7 individuals are added to the list. The largest known civilian casualty, of the 20th century. Or 21st century? Was it the 21st century?
I think it's 21st, but I also think it's the largest number of aid workers and journalists included that have been killed in any conflict.
Right.
I think, yeah, maybe even collectively, but I don't want to misspeak. But go ahead. Your point is
that
is
all of that
relevant.
death had already happened, and it should not have taken 7 more people.
Well, they still killing us. Death is still happening.
Right. No, yeah, they're still bombing.
This happened. This is news.
Yeah.
Ain't like these. There's no pause.
Nope.
In what's happening in Gaza, like people are still being bombed and killed and are starving. And I just watched the other day, like just yesterday or this morning, like there was aid drop in northern Gaza, and people were running to get the aid, and they were leaving. They were being fired upon by the Israeli military, by the IDF, right? Yep. And one person that I saw was killed, and just trying to get food for themselves. So it's just
killed by U.S. weapons.
Like we are beyond, I think, the point of like all the justifications I've been like they are really sounding just like that, justifications for these atrocities. And it's time for us to do something about it. But
real quick though, to bring it back to how it is so closely connected to home. Netanyahu and the IDF said, oops, we're going to investigate that. It was a mistake. So we, the people who did it, are going to investigate ourselves and tell you whether or not we find that we were at fault. Mm-hmm. Sound familiar?
Absolutely.
Police investigate themselves and tell you whether or not they find themselves at fault with what they've done. Mm-hmm. And this is not the first time that Israel has killed U.S. citizens. There was a warship. It wasn't a warship. There was a ship off the coast of Egypt. Israel fired on it because it thought it was an Egyptian ship. It was a U.S. ship. And they said, oops. Mm-hmm. How many of us knew about that before?
I haven't heard about. When was this?
I don't remember what year. I'll send it to you. But the point is, we're asking people to investigate themselves after they've committed heinous acts.
We're not asking them to do it. They're saying they're going to do it.
Right. And the UN and the ICJ continue to come out with reports saying it is genocide. They continue to say this is a man-made starvation. Like the investigation of the outside body that's supposed to be the international community is saying, hey, Israel, knock it off.
I mean, on top of all these other outside external things that are happening, and like, talking about,
say it,
the devastation in Gaza and the West Bank, there have been protests happening in Israel this week, since Easter weekend. And some of the largest protests, obviously, since October 7th. But what many people don't know is that before October 7th, there had been a lot of protests in the streets of Israel, asking for change in government, because Netanyahu had sought to weaken the courts and to collect more power unto himself and his government, and then people had been talking about that, he was trying to end democracy in Israel, and they've now started more protests. Now, I'm not saying that, there's the arguments about whether and how effective these protests can be. We're talking about thousands of Israeli citizens protesting to have
new elections,
to have Netanyahu removed. They wanted to stop Parliament from going on a holiday. It was the biggest anti-government protest, since October 7th, and in all around the same time that these 7 aid workers were killed by the Israeli military. So the people are speaking out about their frustration and the outright agony from watching, what's happening, what this government has been doing, and like not just in Israel, in the United States and other Western
Yes.
countries around the
Yep.
world.
London.
People are stepping up and calling out the atrocity. We are,
And it
it's
has
been going
allowed,
on for so long. Man.
it has, because this didn't start on October 7th. We are talking about decades of occupation, and that our country being being a colonized land, thinking it's an authority about, oh well, no, they're not colonizers, and that's not what happened there, and it's not apartheid. And I'm going to say it again: the United States considered Nelson Mandela to be a terrorist, and they were not supportive of ending apartheid in the beginning.
I mean,
and here we are again.
It was the people, though.
It took the
right?
people.
It was the people that came out.
It took the people
and demanded those changes globally.
Yes.
And that's why that is not the sole reason, because we can't forget the people that were on the ground.
Absolutely.
Obviously, that faced the brunt of all the violence and the pain and incarceration and the death, right, to get things changed in South Africa. But it was a global movement. It was, to change what was happening in South Africa. And people right now, there's a global movement to change what's happening in Gaza and the West Bank and Palestine,
as well as the Congo, the Sudan, and Haiti, because
oh my God,
the
I feel like that's a whole,
it is.
Haiti,
we should have like an international conversation on one of these Fridays to talk about how the powers that be influence the blood diamonds that are coming out of Africa and going to Israel, and what is that connection? Or we say it all the time: our laptops and our cell phones,
all the materials that make these things possible to work. Many of them, come out of Africa and other, parts of the world that people are poor. Remember what the brother said? He says we talk about third world countries and these countries as being poor, and it's the countries aren't poor; it's the people that are poor.
People are poor.
The countries are rich with resources. Otherwise, why would American corporations, other corporations be there, right?
Yeah.
It's not underdeveloped; it's overexploited.
And the same is true of our local communities.
Yeah.
Because in these streets, we have talked to so many brilliant, gifted, talented, skillful individuals that simply don't have access and opportunity, but instead their labor is exploited. Minimum wage jobs that they can't pay their own bills, but had they been given an opportunity, it's my favorite thing to say, we would have cured cancer a long time ago. But making decisions about who have access and opportunities. And so in our inner cities, in our marginalized communities, and also in our rural communities, Hoosick Falls and the water issues that they have had, not very different from Flint, Michigan. And I remember when the mothers from those two communities came together and looked at their similarities as being exploited communities in different ways, right? When we actually stand up and fight, the civil rights era took decades, but it was people united demanding justice. And we need the same things here, and to recognize how we're all connected in this fabric of life. Right?
I like how you put that, the fabric of life. But I want to be clear about something, though, right?
Yeah.
I know we over time. We just talking, but just to be clear, right? When we talking about collective work, or we talking about being united, don't mean we don't disagree. It don't mean that we don't have different approaches or different ideas about what it means to win and what it means to fight and all of that. Like, we have to have that in order for us to kind of say the Bible says iron sharpens iron, right? Like, if we can be respectful in that dialogue and have those conversations, debate those areas that are debatable when we're talking about approaches to fight for liberation and investment with people, that makes us stronger, not weaker.
Yeah.
Right? What makes us weaker is if this idea that this one person knows, or this is the one way. If anybody ever tell y'all, and then we're just going to say on being black, that they know, like, this is the way to be black, they a fool.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Because black is everything. Black in the diaspora means a whole lot of everything. It doesn't mean just one or another thing. Being black means being beautiful, means being bold, means being able to survive, means being able to survive some of the harshest conditions, right? In recent and modern history, right, means being able to also thrive, and that means being able to change this society and to a place that is beneficial to you as opposed to something that's to your full detriment. Like we've had a lot of accomplishments, and I hate when people kind of put us in this box of like this is what it is to be black.
We
and
are
this is
not
what
a
it is to be
monolith.
black and fight.
But I do want
I
to
don't
lift
know if
up
people know what
and
monolith means.
but I want to lift up and recognize that Shawn Young was just dropping bars during Poetry Month. And I hope he goes back and writes down what he just said. You'll go back and watch it because you'll see that I start smiling really hard because I'm like, the bars are happening right now, and he doesn't even know he's doing it.
But it is truth.
It is.
To me,
It
it's
is
the
truth.
truth. That's my understanding, man. And I think that that is where we run into these places of confusion in the work where we think that everyone got to agree with the same. No, we don't got to agree with all the same things.
No,
we need to stay in conversation with each other.
Yeah,
and respect one another enough to hear each other out about what taking steps forward looks like.
But also, there's so much work to do.
Yeah,
you can have more than one plan. It's not that everyone is doing the same thing all the time. You say this on a regular basis.
Yeah.
We are facing a monster that comes at us with multiple tentacles in all these different directions.
Right.
We too must be able to be agile and fluid to respond.
That's right.
Which means the more voices we have, the more ideas we have, the better able we are to address all those different angles.
That's right.
And every voice that comes to the table is the opportunity to find the solution we wouldn't have thought of if they weren't there.
That's right.
Takes all of us.
For a long time.
I have been saying it for a long time.
Takes all of us. Saying that for a long time.
Takes all of us.
Word is born. I'd actually love to keep the conversation going, man. It's just, I look around our community, man. I see a lot going on. I would like, before we sign off, just shout out my bros, all the BPI alumni, that y'all doing amazing work.
Yeah.
I see you. I know that y'all reaching out, supporting other alums and other folks in your community, your families.
Yeah.
And these are all directly impacted people that are facing many obstacles that people don't even recognize in their day-to-day life. You know what I mean? So they're doing great work. I just got a message from one of my brothers who just came home recently to his daughter and his wife, and he's been gone a long time. One of my brothers is going to be a speaker at the Making of a Man's event. Marquia Edwards, shout out to Marquia and them. And yeah, it's just a lot of amazing stuff, man. Stay tuned. We got some things to talk about.
Indeed, and it is Poetry Month, and the importance of the arts in movement work.
Yeah.
Shout out to Adonis Richards, D. Collin, Ray Frazier, always.
Ray. Ray. I was just down there watching them do their thing.
Yeah, there's any number of talented individuals in our communities that allow to share the message of movement work.
Yeah.
And we are highlighting several of them on Movement Mondays. So we started with Baldwin because there's a couple people that like Baldwin a lot. And we're going to highlight some local folks and their poetry as it relates to movement work and revolution and not mine. I've got a whole separate page. but we'll be back next Friday morning, evening.
We gotta figure it out. We gotta figure it out. Because, listen,
the morning, the evening, which
we
one?
Gotta make it work. The evenings works, mornings work. You tell us what y'all want.
You tell us.
Want? When should we come on? Should we come on in the morning? Should we come on in the evening? I didn't even shout out Chandra's thing at 508 State Street. You know what I mean? That's a new little dope spot.
Yep.
Crazy
you know
cool
what?
vibe.
You know what we
music,
need to do?
Food.
We need to just we need to have highlights. Create the list.
I got it.
We got all the social media platforms. We got Canva, Sophia, Uncle Charles. We got a whole thing.
Yeah.
We're going to lift them up.
We're going to make it happen.
All right. Well, listen, I appreciate this evening edition that ran a little bit long. I hope that anyone that's finishing off Ramadan, just hang in there. And looking forward to Eid coming up. And on Monday, April 8th at City Council. There are going to be some young Muslim students singing a song for Eid, and I'm excited to see that as well. I'm gonna stop hitting the table.
I really appreciate, our connections, to that community.
Yeah.
I'm hopeful for, the broadening of it, and
Indeed.
the deepening of it. Appreciate y'all always.
All right. Everybody have a good evening.
Peace. It's Friday. Go get a drink.
Oh my. Okay. Bye. I'm gonna have water.